Hospital porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. The other day I made a film called The Egyptians, which should be available next on the list. In this film, I'll put a little link in the description box. I'll make this a video response to The Egyptians. Originally, The Egyptians was going to be two parts. It was going to be the film I made, plus this one would be part two, the one I'm doing now. But what I decided in the end was to make The Egyptians a film on its own, and this one a film on its own. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of developing on the themes in this film that I raised in The Egyptians, in the same way that The Egyptians raised themes I developed in But They Ain't Normal. So we have a kind of trilogy here, although not a trilogy like Philip Pullman's Dark Materials trilogy, because that's all the same story. This is kind of like this is more like Oliver Stone's Vietnam trilogy. It's three separate stories on the same thing. Nevertheless, I will make this a video response to The Egyptians. Now, what these films are about is about nonconformism, about the plight of nonconformists in our society, and the relationship nonconformists have to the elite and the authorities, and the fact that the authorities hate and fear nonconformists like nobody else on earth. Yesterday I mentioned the fact that the nonconformists in the Oxford boat community were under harassment and attack by the local council, by the government, by various companies, and they were constantly sent nasty letters. You know, sometimes these were complete nonsense letters that had no. Were completely legally devoid of anything other than just rude words, bold print, and red headings. You know, headers. But nevertheless, they still got sent these letters, and I decided I'd bring that plight to the attention of the viewers. You know, I've even got a very, very appropriate T-shirt here. See, nonconformist, because I like being me. That's by the TPUC there. You see. But I mean, I think I should let you know that sometimes the reaction of the authorities to nonconformists can sometimes become a lot more extreme. It doesn't end with nasty letters, it goes much further. I'm going to talk about the Battle of the Beanfield. Now, the way that the media covered, a lot of the media covered this incident was as a bunch of drug-addled New Age thugs were descending on the ancient monument of Stonehenge to basically hack it to pieces with sledgehammers, and the brave police officers got in the way and stopped them. That's the way it was portrayed by much of the media. There was some more honest reporting, which I'll come to in a minute. But I'll give you the brief history. What happened was a group of alternative living people, hippies they might have been called 10 years earlier or 20 years earlier, decided to head for Stonehenge for the summer solstice in 1985. They got in their vans, in their cars, and they drove there. Their plan was to hold a peaceful ceremony and a free music festival to mark the longest day of the year in traditional pagan, indigenous culture. The police created a roadblock. They dumped a pile of gravel and they put their police vans in a row to try and stop these people from getting through to get into the monument. And basically there was a confrontation. The festival goers wouldn't take, they refused to stop. They tried to ram the blockade. The police then attacked and the people fled. Now what follows was described by one journalist, a very experienced ITN journalist who'd covered things such as government oppression in Latin America. She said this was the worst act of police brutality she'd ever seen. So the police were smashing windows with their truncheons and even using sledgehammers and fire extinguishers to smash up the vehicles. They came into the vehicles and started to destroy the living spaces inside the caravans and things like that. And they beat people mercilessly with their truncheons. They beat them over the head. A couple of people got fractured skulls. There were pregnant women beaten. Women, mothers holding babies were battered and rounded up. And this is what became known as the Battle of the Beanfield, because the people fled across the Beanfield. They tried to drive some of their cars through this Beanfield as well, but unfortunately they got stuck in the mud. I think you know, what the truth behind this whole action was that the people the police attacked represented a threat, in the same way that the boat community represent a threat. Now, in the case of the boat community, they're just sending nasty letters now, but sometimes if they feel they have to, they will send in the forces of law and order to use violent suppression to crush these communities. What happened was, after the Battle of the Beanfield, it was then that the kind of New Age travellers emerged. It was then, after that, that you got all the sort of, the sort of like the nasty element. Well, the New Age, the sort of New Age sort of alternative movement split into sort of like either big business and sort of like crystal entrepreneurs, or sort of drug-addled dropouts. You know, it sort of split into these two streams. But before that, it was a healthy, independent, autonomous, non-conformist subculture of people, just like the people in the boat community. These were people who, you know, would generate their own electricity. They were self-employed. They grow their own food. The free festivals were a kind of alternative economy. They actually set up a kind of bartering system and even some new currencies. And this absolutely scared the shit out of the government. And this is why they went in to crush this movement. It wasn't to protect the Stonehenge. That's a load of nonsense. Those stones have been there for almost 5,000 years, maybe longer. You know, there's no way they're in any way vulnerable. And what's more, the people there would have treated them with the greatest of respect. It was the police went in there to destroy that community, and they'll do it again with other people. They're trying to do it now to the boat community, and they will continue to do it to anyone else who is a non-conformist. The real history of the Battle of the Beanfield is very, very well documented in this book. Now, this is one of my favourite books. It's one of my favourite authors, Jonathan Downes. I've quoted him before on Herpanmo TV. He's a cryptozoologist, and this is definitely his finest book. It's a sort of semi-fictional account of a UFO investigation, because he's a general paranormal investigator as well as a cryptozoologist. He specialises in cryptozoology, but he also is into UFOs, ghosts and things like that. It's hilarious. It's a hilariously funny, riotous novel, or semi-novel, about real people. The real people are in it, and as I say, it's semi-real. But Downes' writings also cover social justice, and he talks about the Battle of the Beanfield in this book. It's important to realise, you know, I mean, the government are not just frightened of people who generate their own electricity. They're not just frightened of people who grow their own food and are self-employed, or even people who use their own currencies and use their own money and have a barter system and have free festivals and things like this. Because that's what those people were doing. They basically had an alternative economy. They were going from free festival to free festival. These people used to just circulate around this little community of free festivals where they'd play music and they'd exchange ideas. They'd make friends. They'd make love, and of course exchange goods. But it's not just that. It's a cultural thing. These people were not only economically independent, they were not only socially and energetically independent, they were culturally independent, and above all, spiritually independent. I think when the government and the authorities walk down that canal towpath, which we explored yesterday, which I'm playing now, and they look at these boats, they don't. What really scares them is not the solar panels. It's not the gardens on. It's not the gardens on the decks. It's the paintings on the side of the boat. It's the non-conformist and sort of imaginative names people give their boats. It's the decorations. It's the fact these people are very often very spiritually aware, and the ultimate everything. Every conspiracy, I think, eventually comes down to spirituality. The secrets, all the biggest secrets to do with 9/11, the moon landings, UFOs, whatever it is, eventually come down to spirituality. That is the basement, it's the cornerstone, and it's the foundation of everything. It's the foundation of natural human freedom. It's also the millstone that keeps human freedom down around our neck. It's the suppression and destruction of spirituality is what allows all these other conspiracies to take place. In the hippies, as they were called, in the 60s and 70s and right up until the 1980s, they were spiritually independent too. The Battle of the Beanfield was an attempt to crush that spirituality. I go into more detail in this in my film Know Your Place in the Workplace, which it's a video response to But They Ain't Normal, but I'll put it as a video response to this one as well, because it was about when I came into work one day when I was a porter, and I found that someone had been drawing artwork in the porter's lodge, and that artwork very, very swiftly disappeared. So, what do we do now? Well, I've just been watching Charlie Veitch's new video. He's basically given up on the whole love police thing now, and he says, I'm tired of all this. People are not waking up, so now this is a call for an armed struggle. We need weapons, we need training. This is the British resistance calling the international community. Now, it all sounds very romantic if you watch the video. You know, Charlie comes across as some kind of Che Guevara. This gun-toting guerrilla image is very romantic and very, very dramatic. But, you know, you can't beat the elite by force because the elite are so much better at it than anyone else. When it comes to violence, when it comes to human slaughter, they are the sine qua non world champions. They have all the weapons, they have all the technology, they have all the experience, and they don't have a conscience. So, you know, I think Charlie's got it wrong here. You know, that is not what the elite fear. They don't fear armed resistance. You could tell they don't fear armed resistance because they don't react against it, except they crush the genuine people violently, and they fund the ones they can corrupt. So they actually encourage controlled opposition within the armed resistances. So, as I said, you can't beat the elite with violence. I mean, I'm not a pacifist, and I think if it was possible to beat the elite by violence, I'd go for it. If I knew who all the Illuminati primi were, and I thought it would do any good, I'd go out and shoot them right now. But it won't do any good because they'll shoot back, and they'll shoot back with more horror than we can possibly imagine. So Charlie can go up there with his little pop gun, and he can go and shoot, rain bullets down on Buckingham Palace. What will happen is he will be vaporised by a directed energy weapon, and so will all his people, and the elite will just laugh at them. No, what the elite fear is a spiritual awakening. And so our challenge, like the boat people, our challenge is not to be turned aside. We mustn't give in to this pressure. Even something as bad as the Battle of the Beanfield, we mustn't give in to it. We must resist, we must continue to fight back, and the best way to fight back is to be what these people are. Not fight the elite with weapons, but to fight the elite with ourselves. I just hope that Lyle Watson was right when he talked about the 100th monkey syndrome, because Charlie is right up to a point. I think Charlie's despair has come from the fact that he sees that people are not waking up fast enough. Going around talking to people is not working. It doesn't appear to be anyway. On the surface, it seems that it has failed, because if you go around person to person per person, it's going to take at the speed we are now, it's going to take probably 1,000 years for everyone to wake up. But I mean, if Lyle Watson is right about the 100th monkey syndrome, that won't be necessary. I mean, I made a film about Lyle Watson. The 100th monkey syndrome says that once a critical mass is reached, which is why the radio show is called Critical Mass, I do, and the Critical Mass station, which Panwo Radio is a part of. Once that critical mass is reached, then it's like a switch is flipped, and suddenly the idea explodes into the rest of the society, so everyone gets it. And that is, I think, where we've got to aim for. We've got to aim for that 100th monkey point. Of course, if Lyle Watson is wrong, then we're finished, whatever we do, whether we pick up guns or not. But I don't think he is wrong. I think he was a clever man. I trust him. So that's what we keep pushing for. Keep pushing for that 100th monkey point. Don't give up. Don't do what Charlie has done and just throw your hands up and say, all right, forget the love police stuff. Where's my gun? I'm going to go out and shoot some bastards. Don't do that. Keep pushing. Don't give up. Keep pushing for that 100th monkey point. Just wouldn't it be awful? I mean, I'm saying this to Charlie. I left a comment on the video. Wouldn't it be awful if we gave up the very moment before we hit that 100th monkey? Wouldn't the elite love that? They'd be making jokes about it for centuries to come during our New World Order that awaits us in the future. Thank you for watching Hapanwo TV. Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity, stop the New World Order.